Hello everybody, this is General Yanis, and today in Death Card Tactics I'm going to be looking at 500 points death card lists, looking at this pocket size contagion. I did a video on 1000 points death card list, but now going even further down to 500 points. Let's see what we can conjure up as death card here. So let's get started. So today, the 27th of September, looking at a couple of death card lists for the smaller games, preparing also for my 2000 point game with Harlequins tomorrow. Going to be interesting to face those very fast units. So looking at 6-7 lists, actually, the blessed number for 500 points. Before I start, big thanks to my patrons. As I said, also I have made 1000 points list, and I've also reviewed a lot of 2000 point lists more in depth in the channel. I'll put some links below in the description, and probably I'll put a card for the 1000 points here. But with no further ado, let's jump through to the lists. So first, the background and considerations of 500 points. Of course, 500 points being the smallest match play level. This means short games, a very small board. Probably it's good to practice and learn some basics, and the games don't need to take several hours. But being 500 points, depending on what your opponent brings, depending on what you bring, it will never be fully balanced. Some units are stronger at low points, etc. And yeah, you have to go in and play like a fun game, a fast game, but it could probably easily be a one-sided affair. For combat patrol missions, basically the 500 points, you have to use a patrol detachment. And it's a very tight budget. We need to bring minimum one HQ choice and one troop choice. So that already probably will take a significant chunk of the 500 points. So it's difficult to make a very fancy and strange lists here. The minimum cost of a unit is important. For example, if we want to bring Blight Lords, it's a minimum 200 points. That's taking 40% of our allotment. The Death Shroud, for example, even if per model they are more expensive, the minimum unit is only costing 150 points. So it's easier to take a unit of Death Shroud than a unit of Blight Lords in the 500 points. For our troops, our cheapest one are the Poxwalkers and the Cultists. Basically, the minimum point cost is 50 points, which is good, but we need to bring some other Bubonica started units to fill them. So we need to bring Marines, Terminators, Possessed, whatever. It's a minimum additional 100 points on top of the 50 points to bring them. If we are planning a Terminator heavy 500 point list, then we can, let's say that's a cheap one to bring. But if we, yeah, it's difficult. It would be easy if we didn't have these restrictions to just take a 50-point Poxwalker and try to put some more Demon engines. But it's practically very difficult to do with this restriction that you need to bring Bubonica starters as well. One important unit that this comes in handy is the cheapest thing we have to hold an objective as death card is the Chaos Spawn for 23 points. It's very, very low cost, and it helps filling up the gaps to 500 points, giving us something to hold backfield objectives, which is still something you need to do at 500 points lists. Versatile units like for 1000 point, probably a good idea. Some units that combine both shooting and psychic powers, or shooting and melee, etc. For example, Lord of Virulence could be interesting. The Plaguecaster, as we've seen at 1000 points, is interesting. Something that like some Demon engines that have both shooting and melee in some way could be interesting, like the Blowthrone and the Mephitic Blightholder. At 500 points, it's more difficult to have, let's say, something only specific for melee, etc. I think some more balanced units could be a good idea. So let's go through some example lists. So the first example list, a Wretched Patrol with a Super Plaguecaster. This example, we are starting with 2 command points, and here we have the Malignant Plaguecaster, like in my 1000 point game, the 1000 point list, with the Demon's Favor Relic, the 7-fold Blessing Stratagem for 1 command point upgrade. He's an Arch Contaminator Warlord trait. He's the Warlord of this gang, and he takes, for example, Miasma of Pestilence, Curse of the Leper, and Plague Wind. He's only costing 95 points. He can reroll 1 of the Psychic tests per turn. He knows 1 more spell, and when he's casting, and this is the important thing, If he hits 7 or more, he will be dealing D3 mortal wounds in addition to the closest enemy within 12 inches. So he can really put out a lot of mortal wounds, and it can be even stronger in a 500-point game if you bring him forward, and then he can spread a lot of mortal wounds, unless there is Thousand Suns that deny specifically. But and then we are adding some troops, the 5 Plague Marines here with a Flail and a Blight Launcher for 125 points. We add 3 Death Shroud Terminators, and for example, a Furtive Blow Drone with Speeders for 130 points. This will be 500 points on the money. So 4 units here. They can, they can do some things, and the Playcaster is the centerpiece here. The Blow Drone can operate by itself, and this could be an interesting, just a basic list here we can do with a super Playcaster. Continuing with a super Playcaster, here is a Wretched Patrol, and this is very close to what I started with my as a Crusade list. So this is a bit stronger list, I think. We have the strong Wretched Playcaster. We have the 5 Plague Marines here. We only have room for the Flail for 115 points. Then we use the Foul Blight Spawn. He's the Warlord, Arch Contaminator, Revolting Stench Vats for 1 more command point, and the Viscous Death Pathogen. So he's really strong also at these low points with his Flamer, and he can make sure that the Plague Marines can fight first, and the Flail can do a lot of damage. Of course, they will still be susceptible to shooting power. We have the Plagueburst Crawler here with Entropy Cannons and Slugger. He can be a threat to anything on the board. He can take a lot. It's very difficult to take it out at 500-point list. And we even have room for a Cow Spawn for 23 points to keep some backfield objective if the mission requires it. So I've tried a similar list in Crusade, and the Plagueburst Crawler is borderline oppressive, and it can really, you can dictate the game. The shooting units that could take out the other units, the Plagueburst Crawler can take care of them. Small units, melee units, the combo of the Foul Blight Spawn, the Playcaster, and the Plague Marines can take it out. So I think this is one of the strongest lists we can do for 500 points. I would argue. So very strong list here. So looking at the Terminus Est type of thing, looking at the third list, here we can use Typhus. Typhus is good, but he's taking 165 points. He's good in the sense that he is combining basically a lot of contagion and Playcaster here. Here we are taking 20 Poxwalkers, 5 Blight Lords, and we have a Cow Spawn to spare. But it's very difficult to make a Terminus Est list with a lot of Poxwalkers. Let's say if you want multiple units, there are simply not so many points to bring Bubonic Astartes infantry, so you can't really flood the board. But here you have something here that can be used. So yeah, it's expensive. The Bubonic Astartes to bring the Poxwalkers make it quite expensive, so you can't get the feel of the Terminus Est horde mob thing at 500 points. Here is one example of something bit close to that. Continuing with another example, so here we are utilizing the Lord of Virulence, who has both shooting and melee damage output. We are taking 4 Death Shroud with additional Gauntlet, so this is the big squad here. We take the 5 Plague Marines with a Spewer and a Blight Launcher for 125 points, and we add the 10 Poxwalkers for backfield objectives. So here we are utilizing Mortarion Suns, and we can use it to that the Death Shroud gauntlets become damage 2 weapons, or the Spewer here. But it's not. I don't think this is super strong, but okay, you have a couple of bodies here, and the Lord of Virulence is good at these point levels. Continuing with example list 5. So here I'm trying to see what can you build from the Combat Patrol. If you are a new player, and that's probably where you need to do some 500-point games to get started, I would think this is the best you could do from this Combat Patrol box for 500 points. So here we would take Typhus as the HQ. We can use 7 Plague Marines from the box, melee oriented, one with a flail, one with a cleaver, 167 points. We can use a 20 Poxwalker unit, and then we use the Biologous Putrefier from the box. We can give him the relic of Fugari's Helm. He can be the Warlord with the trait Arch Contaminator. We can use the Ferryman, so we can make the auras he has even stronger. In melee, this group will be quite strong, giving the mortal wounds from the Biologous Putrefier. The grenades will be good, so we can use the grenade stratagem. So here we have basically Typhus and Poxwalkers. He can buff them with Putrescent Vitality, for example. He can follow them, making them stronger. The Biologous Putrefier can follow the Plague Marines, so you could get a decent, let's say 500 point. If you use the Harbingers, you have the access to the good stratagem for rerolling all to hit for the Poxwalkers. Then you could make the Typhus to your Warlord, and you get the Shamble Rod to maybe deal a bit more mortal wounds here. So something to start from the Combat Patrol 500 point list here. Now, another thing is that another example here, list 6, I was thinking that the Tallyman, with his ability to generate extra command points, could be quite interesting in these low point levels, because you start only with 3 or lower command points. Instead of getting 1 more per turn, if you could be getting 2 more per turn, you could have quite a lot more for rerolls and to use some stratagems. So in this list, we are taking a lot of Contagion / Virulence for 120 points, a small unit of Poxwalkers, the Tallyman with a Tollkeeper Relic. He's the Warlord, having Arch Contaminator, and then a blob 5 Blightlord Terminators with a Reaper Autocannon and a Flail. So hopefully get some exploding 6s and do some fire output. And here we have room for 2 Chaos Spawn for 46 points. It could be alternative 1 each in a unit. The Tallyman buffing the shooting of the Blightlords and giving us some command point to have rerolls and using stratagems. So quite okay list, I think, this one. And finally, example list number 7. I think you could make you can take the Contemptor of Dreadnought if you want to be that guy. Basically, this to fill the Contemptor and to be able to buff him. Here we take the Contemptor with the Twin Volkites and the Missile Launcher, giving him a bit more shooting for more shooting here, 175 points. He's costing 1 command point. We take the Tallyman with the Tollkeeper Relic to get exploding 6s and +1 to hit the Contemptor. We're taking the Chaos Lord, the cheapest HQ, to get rerolls. So these 3 guys go together here. He has the Ferric Blight trait, probably inexorable if we can get the Contagion somehow to the opponent and getting some -1 AP here. For the Contemptor, we can also use the stratagem to not get charged so easily. And we have 5 Plague Marines and 11 Poxwalkers. This is what I had left here. A bit of troops to hold something, and basically it's a lot focused on this shooting group. But of course, that takes up most of your points here. Yeah, that's something. You could take the Plague Skull Relic, also the Chaos Lord. If something comes close to your Contemptor, the Plague Skull Relic could eliminate it with mortal wounds. So, a summary and final thoughts. 500 points is quite a small level. You can try. It's difficult to make very sophisticated lists and so on. The point restrictions is very strong, and the cheap troops. The cheap troops we have access to, they need other expensive units to bring, so it's not very easy to do a lot of fun lists. But I think there is still some variety of lists, as I could show you here. Some more fluffy, some quite strong. The Chaos Spawn stands out as a good option for only 23 points. There are some versatile units that can be used, and probably hope you can get some inspiration from this video. And basically the most important is to have fun with the smaller games. So this concludes the video. What do you think about this 500 point list? Do you have any other suggestions? Something maybe you don't think will work so well? Let me know in the comments. And as I said, link in the description for other videos with death card list reviews. If you like this video, please press like and subscribe to my channel. The channel's main focus is Death Guard. I'm also expanding now to Thousand Suns and some other more, let's say, Math Hammer type of the whole Warhammer. But Death Guard, of course, is the main focus. And if you want to support my efforts further, please visit my Patreon page. Yeah, that support is greatly appreciated. So with these words, General Yanis is signing out. Stay safe out there, and bye-bye.